So the total price of £5 of regular coffee and £3 of decaffeinated coffee was $21.50. What was the price of the £5 of regular coffee? So per the prompt, it says total price. Total price 5x plus 3y. X is the price of £1, £1 of coffee, and Y is the price of £1 of decaffeinated coffee. Okay, so it says if the price of the £5 of regular coffee had been reduced 10%, and the price of the £3 of decaffeinated had been reduced 20%, the total price would have been, yes, would have been 18.45. So this total price here is equal to 21 point. So this is going to give us a system of equations where we will have 5x plus 3y equal 21.50, and we will have £5 would be reduced to 10%. So that will be 5x plus 10% of 5x plus 3y plus 20% of 3y, which will be equal to 18.45. Okay, so we'll have 5x plus 3y, 21 point, like this. And this, okay, so it will give 55 x over 10 plus 36y over 10. So definitely it's going to give us a system equation of equations where we have two unknown values, and we can do the necessary in order to actually find the value of x and the value of y. Okay, so what is, because we are looking for the price of the £5. Okay, so the first here, in my opinion, is sufficient. The second condition says Second condition says the price of 5 pounds of regular coffee was 3.50 more than the price of 3 pounds. Let's say, for example, if 5 pounds is equal to x, and then 3y is equal to y like this. And what it says here is that x was equal to y plus 3.5. And then we know that from the prompt, we have this 5 pounds plus 3 pounds of decaffeinated is equal to 21.5. And we have x plus y, which is equal to 21.5. So based on this system of equations, we can also find the price of x. Okay, so this one is also sufficient. So each condition alone here is sufficient to find the solution. So the answer to the question is answer D. So if I come here, I see that answer D here. So let's solve this question. So each of the eggs in a bowl is dyed red or green or blue. If one egg is to be removed at random, what is the probability that the egg will be green? So we have red, okay, green, and red. Okay, in a bowl, and we have to remove one egg at random, and we need to find the probability. And it says there are 5 red eggs in the bowl. So the probability is to find to remove at random a green egg, you know, will actually be the total number of of green over, you know, the total number of eggs. That would be red plus green uh, plus blue. So here is actually blue. Okay. So from the first condition, we do not have the number of green eggs. Okay. So we have the number of red eggs, 5, plus the number of green egg is unknown, plus the number of blue eggs is also unknown. Okay, so this is not sufficient. Okay, so not sufficient. The second condition says the probability that the egg will be blue is 1 over 3. So blue over R plus green plus blue here is equal to 1 over 3. 3 blue equal to red plus green plus blue. 2 blue is equal to red plus green. Okay, still here, we won't be able to find the number of we don't have the number of red, the number of green, and the actual number of blue, so it's not sufficient. And then we can also try to combine the two conditions. Like if you say condition 1 and condition 2. So we know that from condition 1 we have the number of red, and here we have this equation to be equal R plus G. So we can say 2B is equal to 5 plus G. But still we will have two unknown values here, blue and green. So actually we want to find the total number of eggs and the number of green eggs. So from this equation, we won't be able to find it. So the second condition is not sufficient, but the combination of these two conditions is not also sufficient. So the answer is answer E. That is to say that none of the conditions here is sufficient. So let's try to see if that's the correct answer. Answer E. Okay, so the next question. So here it says how much was a certain Rembrandt painting worth in January 1991. So the first condition here says in January 1997 the painting was worth 2 million. But there is no relationship between January 1997 and January 1991. So there's no way for us to know the worth of the painting here from the information given in the first condition here. So I will say not sufficient. Okay. Condition two, over the 10 years from 1998 to 1997, the painting increased in value by 10%. So if we look at condition two alone, the only information that he has given us is that the the painting has increased in value, okay, in worth by 10%. But we don't know the value of the painting in 1998, okay, value not known. At least if we had that information in this condition, we could have determined that each year the value has increased by 10%, but we don't know the value. And here we do not also know the value in 1997. But what that means is that the second condition alone is not sufficient. Okay? But if we take the two conditions together, what condition one tells us is, the value of the painting in 1997. So the value is now known. Okay? So this $2 million of value is actually the result of a 10% increase each year from 1998 to 1997. So if we want to find the value in 1991, we simply have to decrease the $2 million here by 10%. If we decrease it by 10%, it's going to give us the value of the painting in 1996. Okay, and if we decrease the value in 1996 by 10%, it's going to give us the value in 1995. If we decrease, it's going to give us the value in 1994 until we are going to reach 1991 and get, the value of the painting. So here we definitely know that the combination of both conditions here is sufficient in determining the worth of the painting in January 1991. So the answer is answer C. Okay, so let me check. Answer C is the answer. Let's check. Pick the next question. So this question says, how much did credit card fraud cost United States banks in year X to the nearest $10 million? Okay, so the first condition, in year X, counterfeit cards and telephone and mail order fraud accounted for 39% of the total amount of card fraud cost to banks. So we are looking for the exact amount. Okay, how much did the credit card cost United States banks? But here it's telling us that in year X, counterfeit cards, telephone, mail order fraud accounted for 39% of total amount that card fraud cost banks. So we don't know the total amount, okay? This is unknown. Okay, so this is not known. So clearly, because it's not known, we will say that it is sufficient. The second condition says in year X, stolen cards accounted for $158.4 million, or 16% of the total amount that credit card fraud cost the banks. So we are looking for the amount, total amount of credit card fraud. But here we have this amount here, 158.4 million, which is equal to 16% of the value that we are looking for. So this is basically saying that 1.4 million here is equal to 16% of X. Okay, so X here is actually the amount, like the total amount. Oh, sorry. Total amount. Total amount of credit card fraud. Okay, so here we can definitely get the value of X, which is 100 times 1, 8.4 divided by 16. Okay, to get the total amount. So the second condition is definitely sufficient. Okay, so the answer to this question is answer B. Second condition alone is sufficient. Okay, let's check that. Answer B. Next question will be this one. In a certain factory, hours worked by each employee in excess of 40 hours per week are overtime hours and are paid. I didn't copy very well. They are paid. Uh, Let me fix this. So they are paid one and a half the time. So it's actually this. Okay. For at one and a half times the employee's regular hourly rate. If an employee worked a total of 42 hours last week, how much was the employee's gross pay for the hours worked last week? Okay, so we have 40. Let me use the red one. So 42 hours, which is equal to the total number of hours worked last week. That's it. Okay. Employee worked a total of 42 hours last week. And from here, we can say that 40 hours is regular number of hours per week. So normally when you work 40 hours, it's the normal number of hours that the employee works per week. So 2 hours should be considered as overtime. Okay. Yes. So this is hours worked by each employee in excess of 40 hours per week are overtime. And these overtimes are paid one and a half times the regular hourly pay rate. So the first condition tells us the employee's gross pay for overtime hours worked last week was $30. So that means that we have $30, which is, equal to 2 times, because you work 2 hours, 2 hours times one and a half times the regular hourly rate. So we can do the operation. One and a half here is simply one is equal to one plus half. Okay, this is equal to 3/2. So the $30 is equal to 2 times 3/2 times. So this one, we can call it big X times big X. So that means we can find big X. Okay. And once we find big X, which is the regular hourly rate, we can then multiply it with 40 hours in order to get, the regular amount that it was paid for the regular 40 hours. Once we get that, and then we can add it to the 30. Okay. So this will be 30 equals 6 big eggs over 2. This will give us 6x will be equal to 60, and big X is equal to 10. Okay, so $10 per hour. Okay, so that's the hourly rate. And then if we want to find the value that is asking us here, what was the employee's gross pay for the hours worked last week, we can get that. The employee worked 40 hours regular, okay, 40x plus 2 hours of overtime. So 2 factor of 3 over 2, 3 over 2 times big X. But we know that this value is already given here, saying that the employee gross pay for overtime hours for the 2 hours is equal to 30. So 40 big X plus 30. But we also now have the value of big X here, which is 10. So 40 times 10 plus 30, which is 430. Okay, so that is the gross pay. So the first condition is sufficient because it has allowed us to find, you know, the total amount of the gross pay. Let's now check the second condition. The employee's gross pay for all hours worked last week was $30 more than for the previous week. So this is not sufficient, clearly, because we don't have, the value from last week. Okay. So in the prompt, we only have the number of hours worked and how much it should it should be for the overtime. How should we calculate the value? And we have the total value, but we don't know the value, the amount or the gross pay from the previous week. Okay, so the second condition is not sufficient. Okay, so this is not sufficient because we don't have, if we take the condition alone, we don't have this. So this value is not known. Okay, so that means that the answer to this question is answer A. I just come back to GMAT Club here and confirm that. So answer A is the answer. Next question. Okay, I'm going to erase this. Okay, so the question says, if 10% of the employees of the state fair are police officers, what is the number of employees who are not police officers? Okay, so we have some values that we need to identify here. It's a 10% of the employees of the state fair are police. Okay, so we have number of employees of the state fair. So out of them, we have police officers and we have non-police officers. Okay, here they represent 10%. So if the total number of employees is X, okay, so the police officer represents 10% of X. And this is what we are asked to find. Okay, so what is the number of employees who are not police officers? Okay, so it says that 5% of the police officers employed in the fair are women. So here, what this tells us, the first condition tells us that 5% of 10% of X are women. But it does not give us enough information about those employees that are not police officers. Okay? So definitely we need to find probably the number of employees of this, the total number of employees here in order to probably determine maybe the rest that are not police officers because we already have the 10%. That means that 90% of the employees here are not police officers. So the first condition is not sufficient. The second condition says 45% of the employees at the state fair are women. Okay. So what this also tells us is that okay, here we have 45% women, or we can say X, which is the total number of employees. We have 45% women plus, so probably 55% men. But it does not tell us uh, who are the police officers among the employees and who are not the police officers. So this also is not sufficient. Okay, so now if we try to combine the two information, we are still not going to be able to determine who are not the police officers. Because from the first here, so we have this 10% police plus 95% not police. Okay. Out of the 10%, we will have 5%, of the police officers who are women. We have 5% women and 95% men. Okay, so here, those who are not police officers, And it also tells us that 45% employees at the step are women. Still we have a lot of unknown values. Okay, we don't have this value, we don't have this value, this one as well. So definitely the two conditions together is not also sufficient. So we need more information. So answer E should be our answer. So now let's check uh, here. Answer E is our the correct answer. Okay, so none of the condition is sufficient. So let's take this. Next question. Before I do that, let me remove this. Okay. So it says each of the 120 students in a certain dormitory are either junior or senior. How many of the juniors have credit card? So we have 122 students equals junior plus senior. Okay, so junior is number of junior students. Okay, and S equal to number of senior students. And we need to find, so that means it's talking about having credit cards. So we have juniors that would have credit cards and those that would not have credit cards, and juniors that will have seniors that will have credit cards, and those that will not have credit card. So the first condition says two-thirds of the 122 juniors and seniors have credit card. So the 2/3 of 120 juniors and seniors have credit card. Okay, so it's 2/3 of this, which is equal to 2 times 120 divided by 3, which is 2 times 40, 80. So we have 80 students with credit card. But what it tells us here is that these 20 students are at the same time juniors and seniors, but we are looking for how many juniors have credit cards. So this is not sufficient. Okay, we have 80. We don't know. It can be that maybe 40 seniors have credit card, and 40 juniors also will have. But we can also have 50 seniors that will have credit card and 30 juniors. Okay, so we have multiple possible results or combination or choices here. So this is not sufficient to give us like the exact number of junior students that will have credit card. The second condition is the number of seniors who have credit cards is 20 more than the number of juniors who have credit cards. Okay, so we know that we have this equation, but here it tells us, sorry, um, seniors with credit card. So I'm going to call it SC is equal to juniors with credit card plus 2. Okay, and this here can also be written as 120 is equal to junior is made up of juniors with credit card and juniors without credit card plus seniors with credit card plus seniors without credit card. Okay, so we have a bunch of unknown values here. We don't have this value, we don't have these as well, so it's not sufficient for us to determine those who do not have juniors that do have a credit card. So this is not sufficient. So what would happen if we combine the two conditions? First condition, what we know is that we found the value 80 students here, which is equal to the number of juniors with credit card plus the number of seniors with credit card. Okay, so we have this one. From the second condition, we have this here. Equation which tells us that the number of seniors with credit card is equal to the number of juniors with credit card plus 20. Okay, so what we can do here, we can simply replace the number of seniors with credit card in this equation here. It's going to give us 80, which is equal to junior with credit card plus senior with credit card is equal to junior with credit card plus 20. Okay, so now we are going to have two junior with credit card, 80 minus 20. So the number of juniors with credit card is going to be equal to 60 divided by 2. Okay, which is 30. And then we have our value. So when we take both the two conditions, we can find what the question is asking here. How many junior have credit cards? So the answer is answer C. Both conditions together sufficient to provide us the answer that we are looking for. So that if I check this, it's answer C. That is correct. Move on to the next question. Okay, this is a typo. So this here is actually 2/3, okay? And yes, so that's it. So it says Rita's monthly salary is 2/3 of Juanita's monthly salary. So if I would say R is equal to Rita's monthly salary, and J is equal to Juanita's monthly salary. And it says R is equal to 2/3 of J. What is the combined monthly salary? So they want us to find R plus J. How much is it? So we have the first condition tells us that Rita's monthly salary is 4,000. So from the condition here, what we can do, we can simply say that we have this equation here. So R, which is equal to 2/3 of J. So 4,000 is equal to 3 over 3. So this will give us 2. J is equal to 12,000. And Ranita's salary is equal to 6,000. Okay. So this can lead us to this equation. Okay. X is actually like the combined monthly salary. Okay. We can call it X. So the condition tells us that R is equal to 4,000 and we found J, which is equal to 6,000. So the combined is 10,000. So this is sufficient. You can say it's sufficient. And the second condition, either Rita's salary or Ranita's monthly salary is 6,000. So what this basically means is that sometimes we can consider Rita's salary to be equal to 6,000. So if Rita's salary is equal to 6,000, we can say 6,000 to J like this, and J to J equal 18,000 and J equals 9,000. Or, okay, you can say either retail monthly salary equal that, or Ranita monthly salary, or we can say that Ranita monthly salary is equal 6,000, so that will be times 6,000. This will lead us to have Rita's salary be equal to 4,000. Okay, so here you can see that we can have different values for. So here R is for 6,000 and J is 9,000. But because we have considered Rita's salary to be 6,000, but if we considered J's salary to be 6,000, Rita's salary will be 4,000 and J 6,000. So here we can't know for sure if we just stay with this condition, second condition, we can't know for sure what is the combined salary, because if here we combine the two, it's going to be 6,000 plus 9,000, which is equal to 15,000. Okay, and this, if we combine, it's going to be 4,000 plus 6,000, which is equal to 10,000. Okay, so we have two different values, so we can't know. That definitely means that this is insufficient. So our answer, the answer to the question is answer A. So now let's come back to GMAT and check the official answer. So it's answer A, as I said. That's it. Answer A is the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. So here is the next question. It says, if today the price of an item is 3,600, what was the price of the item exactly 2 years ago? So let's say item's price today equal, yeah, $3,600. So 2 years ago, we don't know if the price has decreased or increased. Yeah, so we need to find out. looking at the condition that it will give us. The first condition says the price of the item increased by 10% per year during this 2-year period. Okay, so today it is this value, but the condition here says that actually for us to arrive to this 3,600, the price of the item has been subject to an increase of 10% per year. So that means that n minus 2 equals price of the item, n minus 1 is equal to x plus 10% of x, or 1.1 x, and n0 here, which is today, is equal to 1.1 x plus 10% of 1.1 x, which is equal to 1.1 x factor of 1.1. Okay, so what we can say is that n minus 2 is equal to x, which is equal to the price of the item 2 years ago. Okay, so we are looking for x here. N minus 1, okay, is the price of the item 1 year ago. And then n0 here is price of the item today. Okay, so once we have determined that, we can say n0 is the price today. We have that in the prompt. And then we have 1.1 multiplied by 1.1 multiplied by x. Okay, so this will definitely allow us to determine the value of x. So in this particular question, we are not obliged to go to the end and find the solution. It's just to determine if we can get this value. Okay, so we have x as the only unknown value in our equation here. That means we can determine the value of x. So the first condition is sufficient. So that's it. The second condition says, today the price of the item is 1.21 times its price exactly 2 years ago. So that simply means that today the price of the item is, so we have the price of the item today. Today price of the item is 360. And it says that this price is equal to 1.21 times, so multiply its price by its price exactly 2 years ago. We can call it X. So that's exactly what we are looking for. The price of the item exactly 2 years ago. And this one also we can find that x is the only unknown value here. So x will be equal to 360 divided by 1.21. So the second condition alone is also sufficient. Okay, so that means that both conditions alone can allow us to find, the answer to the question that the prompt asked. What was the price of the item exactly 2 years ago? So answer B is the correct answer. Like if we come and check here, answer D is the correct answer. Let's take this question. Okay, let me remove this and move on to the next question after that. There are two groups of students who took a history test. Okay, two groups. Just okay. So we have two groups of students took a history test. Was the average score of the students in group A higher than the average score of the students in group B who took the test? So we say average A greater than average B. So that's actually the question. So what it tells us, of the students who took the test, 10 were in group A and 12 were in group B. We know that average of group to have the arithmetic mean or the average of group A is equal to the sum of the scores of students. Okay, the sum of students' score, sum of score A over the number of students in group A. Okay, so the same thing for average here of group B. We need to have the sum of students in group the student score, right? Over the number of students in group B. So one thing we can notice here is that from the prompt only tells us that we have two groups, okay, group one, group A and group B, and it asks us the question to say whether the average of group B is greater than the average score of group A is greater than the average score of group B. The first condition tells us this information here, okay, the number of students per group, but the first condition does not tell us, the scores. These 10 students in group A, what were their scores? These 12 students in group B, what were their scores? We don't have that information. So that unknown. So since they are unknown, we cannot determine whether the average score of students in group A is higher than the average score of students in group B. So this is insufficient. The second condition says on the test, the highest score achieved was achieved by a group B student, and the lowest score achieved was achieved by a group A student. Still, okay, we can't determine that for sure. Like, even though like the highest score was achieved by the group B student got the highest score, what about the rest? What was their score? Okay, so like if we say average of B, we have like the highest score is 95, for example, 95%. Here we don't know even how many, like the number of students is unknown. Okay, unknown. So if the number of students is unknown, we can't even have like the exact value here of the sum of the scores of the students in the group. Okay, be it for group A or group B. So this is also not sufficient because we have a lot of unknown values. And also, if we try to combine the two conditions, 1 and 2, if we combine them, we are still going to find out that okay, we can't determine. Actually, what we need is to, at least if we had the sum of the scores of the students here, if that was known, and we already have the number of students in each group, then we could find the average score for each group. And then we could determine which average score from which group is higher than the other one. Okay? So when we combine, it's still insufficient. Okay. So the answer is straight answer E. None of the condition gives us enough information to determine, you know, whether The average score of the students in Group A is higher than the average score of the students in Group B. So answer E. Let's move on to the next question. Let's copy that. What percent of the drama club members enrolled at a certain school are female? So we have drama club members, which is equal to X. We have number of students. So it says what percent of the drama club members enrolled at a certain school are female. The first condition says of the female students enrolled at a school, 40% are members of the drama club. So we have N, which is the number of students, which is made up of female and male. And it is also, okay, so this female here is actually made up of female part of the drama club plus female not part of the drama club. The same thing for male here. So we have male part of the drama club plus male not part of the drama club. And what it tells us in the first condition here is of the female students enrolled, 40% are part of the drama club. So this is actually 30% of F. Okay. And this is 60% of F. But we don't know the number of female students. We don't know the number of male students. So we can't find the percent of drama club members. Okay, so actually X here, drama club members, we will have female part of the drama club plus male students part of the drama club. In order to find this, we need to find the number of female students enrolled. In order to find this, we need to have the number of male students enrolled. So we can find that. So it's sufficient. Two, of the male students enrolled, okay, 25%, 25% are members of the drama club. So this is like the same logic, okay? This is 25% of M, and this would definitely be 75% of male students enrolled. But we don't know the number of male students enrolled, okay? We don't know that. So this is also insufficient. So if we say we combine X female enrolled to the drama club, male enrolled to the drama club, we know that this is 40% of the number of female students enrolled, plus this is 25% of the male students enrolled to the school. Still, we don't have this information, so this is also clearly insufficient. Okay, so this is insufficient. So the answer is answer E. So answer E. Next question. Yes, so let's have a look at this question. If car X followed car Y across a certain bridge that is 1.5 mile long, how many seconds did it take car X to travel across the bridge? Car X drove onto the bridge exactly 3 seconds after car Y drove onto the bridge and drove off the bridge exactly 2 seconds after car Y drove off the bridge. So we have, so the question here is how many seconds did it take car X to travel across the bridge? So we know that speed is equal to distance over time, and time is equal to distance over speed. Okay. Uh, we know that the distance, is 1.5 mile long. We don't know the speed and all of that. So from the first condition, it said car X drove onto the bridge exactly 3 seconds after car Y drove onto the bridge and drove off the bridge exactly 2 seconds. Okay, 2 seconds after car Y left, drove off the bridge. So that information tells us that the time, so we'll say tx is time taken by x, car x, to cross, and ty is time taken by y to cross. So since car x drove off exactly, even though it drove on the bridge 3 seconds after, we can assume that time taken by x is equal to the time taken by y minus 1 second. Okay, so if the car X drove off the bridge exactly 3 seconds after car Y, that means that they were driving at the same speed. But if it drove 2 seconds after, which is less than the 3 seconds after which he started driving after car Y, so we can definitely say that it took car X, the time that it took car Y to drive minus 1 second. Okay. So now the next question that we need to ask ourselves is that based on this condition here, are we able to determine the exact time? Okay, so we still don't know the time it took car Y to drive that because we don't have the speed here. Okay, the speed is unknown. You see, speed is unknown. We have this, but this is unknown. So we can't determine, the time it took Y. So the first condition is sufficient. The second condition, it says car Y traveled across the bridge at a constant speed of 30 miles per hour. So the time it took car Y, we know that the distance of the bridge is 1.5, and it was traveling at the speed of 30 miles per hour. Now we can determine exactly um, this times 30. So 160 hour. But what is it is asking us is how many seconds did it take car X? We don't know the speed of car X. Okay, we only have the time for car Y. We don't know the speed. We don't know exactly how many seconds after did car Y drove off the bridge. So we don't have that information. Okay, so this is insufficient because we can't find the value, the time that car X took to actually cross the bridge. But you will see that if we combine condition one gave us this equation, time it took car X, which is equal to time it took car Y minus 1. And then we have the value of time it took car Y, so time it took time X will be equal to 160 minus 1 second. So we can convert this into seconds, okay? And it's going to give us the correct value. We know that, so that if we can, we let's just continue the calculation here. So this is in hours, this is in seconds. So we know that 1 hour is made up of 3,600 seconds minus 1. So this will be this like this. It's going to be 60 minus 1, which is going to give us 59. Okay, so that's 59 seconds is, how many seconds it took car X to travel across the bridge. So the two conditions taken together are sufficient. So answer C. All right. So let's take the next question. This seems to be a simple question. Before we move to that question, let me erase this. What is the value of x minus 1? So this is pretty straightforward. x minus 1. So we need to find a value of x. So this first condition, x will be equal to 3 minus 1, which is going to be to 2. So x is equal to 2. And this x minus 1 is going to be 2 minus 1. That will be equal to 1. Okay, so this is sufficient. So simple question. And this, we are x that will be less than 3 plus 1. X will be less than 4. Okay, so x less than 4, we can have multiple values of x. So x minus 1 could be 3 minus 1, which is 2. It could be, since it's less than 4, it could be 2 minus 1. It could be 1 minus 1, 0. It could be 0 minus 1, which is minus 1. See, so we can have multiple values of x. So this is not sufficient. Insufficient. Okay, so answer A is our correct answer. Let's take the next question. If 5x plus 3y equals 17, what is the value of x? It's, so it tells that x is positive. Here, but we know that we have here 5x plus 3 is 17. X is positive, but what is the exact value of x? We don't know. X being positive, it can be any number. And x being positive, we also do not have the value of y. What about y? Y can be positive. Y can be negative. Can be less than 0 or greater than 0. Okay. So depending on the value of y, we can have different values of x. So it's difficult to find the exact value of x. So it's sufficient. So here, the second condition tells us y is equal to 4x. So this will lead us to 5x plus 3y equals 17 will be 5x plus 3 because y is equal to 4x. Okay, 17. We will have 5x plus 12x equals 17. 17x equals 17, x equal 1. So here we have the exact value of y. So this is sufficient. So these are very simple questions that you can solve in a matter of not even doing a calculation. So you can just by reading the question find out that this is insufficient and the second condition is sufficient. Okay. So like if we come here, we have answer B as our correct answer. Let's take this next question. So x equal 2y. What is the value of xy? And here it says x is equal to 2y. So what we need to find out here, so in the first condition it says that x is actually x is greater than y. X is greater than y. Yes, like if we try to replace x by this value here, so 2y greater than y, says that we have y greater than 0. So it only tells us that y is greater than 0, but what about um, the value of x? Okay, so y being greater than 0, we can have four numbers. And what about the value of x? So this is sufficient. Now, if we come to the second condition here, we can say that we will have a system of equation where we will have 3x minus 2y equal 14 like this. Like if we want to find the value of y first, we can replace x by 2y here. So we have 3 factored 2y minus 2y equal 14. 6y minus 2y equal 14. And 4y equal 14. This will be equal to 7 over 2. And since we have the value of y, we can find the value of x. X is equal to 2y. X is equal to 2 factor like this. So x is equal to 7. So that means xy will be equal to 7 times 49 divided by 2. So definitely the second condition alone is sufficient. Okay, so let's find out answer B. So is ZW positive? So what this tells us is that, so is ZW positive? We need to say here, so for this one, Z plus W to the power. So we are going to suppose, let's suppose that Z is positive. If Z greater than 0 and W greater than 0. Okay, then ZW is also greater than 0. And here, how can we use this equation to find out the signs of Z and W? Like, for example, in order for this to be equal to 20, we can say that Z can be equal to 12 and W equal to 2. This will say that we have 12 plus 2 to the power 3, which is equal to 20. Okay? But Z can also be equal to, let's say, 28 and W equal to minus 2. This will give us 28 plus minus 2 to the power 3 equal 20. Yeah, because we have 28 minus 8, because minus 2 to the power 3 is going to give us minus 8, and this will be equal to 20. So we have, yeah, so Z can be can take these values. We can also say that ZW is positive when, okay, if Z is less than 0 and W is less than 0. Because we know that when you have minus multiplied by minus, it gives positive, all right? And we have positive multiplied by positive, it gives positive. If you have negative multiplied by positive, it gives negative. Or we have positive multiplied by negative, it gives negative. Okay, so we need to determine, is Z is it that when Z is negative, W is also negative, or when Z is positive, W is also positive? looking at this equation, we have no way of finding out. Okay, because z can be positive and w negative, but we will still have the value 20 here. So this is sufficient. The second condition only says that z is positive. If we take the same example here, z is positive. If z is positive, w can have any kind of sign. So we don't have any sign, any information concerning the sign of w. Okay, we do not have any information concerning the sign of w. So w can be any sign. So this is also insufficient. If we take condition 1 and condition 2, so here we have z plus w to the power 3 is equal to 20. So we know that z is positive. But even when z is positive, w can take any value possible. Okay. Okay, so even if z is positive, yeah. So the combination of the two conditions is still not sufficient because we need to have the information concerning the sign of w. Is w less than 0? Is it greater than 0? If we don't know that for sure, we can't determine that the product between z and w is actually positive or not. So the answer is answer E. Okay, so answer E, our answer. Okay, so let's take the next question. What is the value of x? We need to find the value of x. So first condition says that 4x plus exponent x plus 1 plus 4 to the power x is 3, like this. So this here can actually be written like x to the power 4 to the power x multiplied by 4 to the power 1. Okay, plus 4 to the power x. This is 320. We can factor this. 4 to the power x is going to be 4 plus 1, which is equal to this. So this can be written to 4 to the power x multiplied by 5. So we need to make sure that this side of the equation is also written in the same format as this one. So let's try to divide this by 5. Divided by 5 gives us 6, 30, 20, and 4. Okay, 20. Yeah, so this is actually equal to 64 times 5. And we need to write 64 as 4 to the power something. Okay, so 64 is actually 8 times 8. And 8 is 2 to the power 3. Okay, like this. So this is equal to 2 to the power 6. Okay, or we can say that 8 is actually 4 times 2, 4 times 2, 4 times 4 times 4, because 2 and 2 here will be equal to 4. It's 4 to the power 3. So this can be times 5 equal 4 to the power 3 times 5. This 5 is here, so 4x, so x is equal to 3, because this will be same, okay? Now we have the value of x is equal to 3, so we have been able to determine that this is, the first condition is sufficient. So the second condition, it says that x squared is equal to 9. How can we find the value of x? So x squared equal to 9 can also be written as x squared is equal to x is equal to the square root of 9. This can be positive or negative. Okay. Why am I saying this? Is because, let's say, for example, if x is minus 3, then we'll have minus 3 squared is equal to 9. If x is equal to 3, we have 3 squared is equal to 9. Okay, so the value of x here, nothing in the question or in the prompt tells us that x is positive or x is negative. So x can be either 3 or minus 3. It will still give us the number 9 here. So this is not sufficient to determine the exact value of x. So we need to determine the exact value of x. X can be minus 3 or plus 3. So this is insufficient. Okay, so um, our answer is answer A. Sorry. So we have answer A here. take the next question. So it says, the table above shows the distance in kilometers by the most direct route between any two of the four cities, R, S, T, and U. For example, the distance between city R and city U is 62 kilometers. What is the value of X? So we need to find the distance between R and T. So it says, by the most direct route, the distance between S and T is twice the distance between S and R. Okay, so S and R. Okay, so distance between S and T. We can say S and T is equal to 56. Okay, S and T is 56. It is equal to twice the distance between S and R. Okay, S and R is Y, 2Y. So this, we say that Y will be equal to 56 divided by 2, or 28 kilometers. But that's not the question, okay? The question is to find the value of X, not the value of Y, okay? What is the value of X? X is TR, okay? Or R and T. So this is sufficient. So the second condition says, by the most direct route, the distance between T and U, T, which is here, and U, is 1.5 times the distance between R and T. So that's the value of X. So T and U, which is equal 69, if equal to 1.5. 1.5 is 3 over 2. The distance between R and T, which is X. So this means that X will be equal to 69 times 2 divided by 3, which is equal to 23 times 2 46 kilometers. So here we have the value of x. So this is sufficient. Okay. So answer B. Let's move on to the next question. Hello. So if a public distribution company loses 5% of its monthly allotment of wheat in a month because of wastage, pilferage, and theft, what is the cost in dollars to the company per month for this loss? Okay, so the first condition says that the company's monthly wheat allotment is 400 million tons, but we are asked to actually look for the cost in dollars to the company per month for this loss. So it's losing 5% of its monthly allotment. We have the monthly allotment, so 5% of 400 million is actually 5, which is equal to 20 million allotment of wheat. But what does it represent in terms of dollars? Okay. Okay. So what is the value of 1 ton? Okay. So this is sufficient because we need to know because we have 20 million tons representing the loss in a month. But how can we determine like the amount in dollars that it represents? So is sufficient. The second condition says the cost to the company for each 10 tons of wheat loss is $5. So, so if we lose 10 tons, it costs $5. What if we lose? So in this here, it only says that $10, but we don't know how much we have lost per month because this second condition does not tell us like the total of our monthly wheat allotment. Okay, we don't have that information. We have it in condition one, but when we are treating condition two alone, we kind of not taking into account the information given in condition one. Okay, so in condition two, we only have this information that 10 tons of wheat loss is equal to $5, but we don't know what is the company's monthly wheat allotment. Okay, we don't have that information. Since we don't have that information, we can't determine the 5%, the 5% that is it tells us here. So the second condition is also insufficient. But when we take the two conditions together, then we have all the information that we need. Okay. If we take the two conditions together, like we have the monthly wheat allotment, which is 400 million tons. We can deduct the 5% of loss, which is 20 million here. And the second condition tells us that 10 tons loss is equal to $5. Then 20 million will be how much? X. So X will be equal to, we multiply like this, 5 times 20 million divided by 10,000. So 2,000 times 5, 10,000. Yeah, okay. So 10,000 is the cost in dollars to the company per month for the loss of its 5% of its monthly allotment. So our answer is definitely answer C. Next question. A patient experiencing cold-like symptoms goes to a doctor. Is the patient suffering from a viral infection? So the first condition say, based on their symptoms and medical history, the patient thinks they are suffering from a viral infection. So based on the symptoms, the patient thinks they are. So the question, the prompt says, is the patient? So I think the answer needs to be, sure, like exact, is the patient suffering from viral infections. Like if we say that the patient is thinking that they are having suffering from a viral infection, should we take it as such as being like the correct information? Not really, because the patient is not a doctor. So this is not sufficient. So it's insufficient to declare for sure that the patient is suffering from a viral infection. If it said that the patient said that a doctor did a diagnosis and said that indeed is suffering from a viral infection, then this condition would have been sufficient. The second condition says due to the knowledge of common illnesses in the local area, the doctor thinks it is more likely that seasonal allergies are the cause of the patient's symptoms. I also think that this is not sufficient because it says the doctor thinks it is more likely. I think this is it. More likely. So it is not confirmed, but it's just like a supposition, an hypothesis. Maybe the doctor needs to do some more tests in order to have the confirmation that the patient is indeed not suffering from a viral infection, but it is a seasonal allergy that is causing the symptoms that he's facing. So this is also insufficient. Okay, so even when we take the two conditions together, it does not give us much information into like the exact confirmation that the patient is suffering from a viral infection. Okay, so the answer is answer E. So answer E. Next question says, how is Bill related to Betty? Okay, the first condition says, so we need to find the relationship between Bill and Betty. So the first condition says Cindy. So Cindy here is related to Bill and she's the wife. She's the wife of Bill's only brother, Chris. So Cindy is the wife to Chris. Sorry. To Chris. And Chris is the only brother to Bill. And Bill does not have any other sibling. But here we don't know where Betty is, where Betty is. Okay, we don't have any information about Bill and Betty, so insufficient. Okay, so the only information it tells us here is that so his Cindy is a sister-in-law. The second condition tells us that Betty is Cindy's brother's-in-law's wife. So Betty, Cindy. Here we can say Betty is has a husband. No, here it's Cindy. Cindy has a husband, and that husband has a brother, and Betty is Cindy's brother-in-law's wife, and we have Betty here. Okay, so this is Cindy's brothers-in-law. Okay, and that brother-in-law has a wife that is called Betty. So this is also insufficient because we don't have Bill in the equation here. But okay, so like if we combine the two, let's say we can now know from the first condition, we know that Cindy, the wife of Bill's only brother, Chris. So Chris is this brother. So this brother is Chris. His wife is Betty. And Chris here is a brother to husband of Cindy. Okay. And since it says that it does not have any other siblings, so Chris' brother must for sure be Bill. And Bill must be the husband to Cindy. So this sufficient. So both conditions taken together are sufficient. So we definitely have to take the conditions together in order to find out. Next question says, if sequence S has 120 terms, what is the 105th term of the sequence S? So we have sequence S, we have made up of S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, and S150. And S120 like this. So this is what we are looking for. So the first condition says the first term of S is minus 8. So S1 is minus 8. But we don't know the relationship between S1 and S2 and S3, okay? We don't have like a pattern of that particular sequence because it can be any pattern. It can be that, the following term or element in that sequence must be maybe the previous term plus 2 or plus 3 or multiply by 2 or multiply by 3. We don't have that information in this first condition, so we can't definitely know for sure what are the other values, what the other values are, basing ourselves solely on the first term. So we can't have that information. So this is insufficient. The second condition says each term of S after the first term is 10 more than the preceding. Okay, each term of S after the first is 10 more than the preceding. This also, so like if we take the first condition alone, that means that we ignore the first condition, we only take the second condition alone. All that it tells us is that each term of S after the first term is 10 more than the preceding. But we don't know where to start. Like, we don't have either the first term or the last term. The only thing we know is that in this sequence we have 120 terms, and we are looking for the 105th term. So probably the first term could be 0, okay? Uh, could be 0, or it can be 1, or it can be 2, it can be any value. So if it is 0, so the 105th term will be different than if the first term was 1, or if it was 2, or if it was 3, okay? So this is also insufficient. Okay, so when we take the two conditions together, then we can say that it's sufficient, because like the first condition tells us that the first term is minus 8, and it says that each term after the first term is 10 more than the preceding. So that means that S2 is equal to S1 plus 10. Okay, 10 more than the preceding. That will be 1 minus 8 plus 10, which is 2. So we have 2 here. F3 will be equal to S2 plus 10, will be 2 plus 10, will be 12. So if we continue like this, we will be able to find, the 105th value. Okay, so definitely, when we take the two conditions together, we find that the two conditions together, they are sufficient. So the answer is answer C. That's it. Let's take the other question. How many hours does it take 12 machines with identical production rates running simultaneously without stopping to fill a certain production order? So we have, uh, we know that rate is equal to work over time. So here we have n, the number of machines, which is equal to 12. And we have that, we know that these machines, they have like identical production rates and they are running simultaneously. And the first condition says it takes each machine alone running continuously 60 hours to fill the production order. Okay, so it takes 60 hours. So rate for one machine, 1 over 60. So it says how many hours does it take 12 machines to fill a certain production? So this is for 1 hour, and they have like an identical rate. So this will be as if we are saying 160 plus 160 plus, you know, 160. So we have 12 machines, so it's going to be 12 factor of 1 over 6. Okay, because they have identical rates. So this will be 12 divided by 60 will give us 5 hours. Okay, so it will take, if the 12 machines are running at the same time without stopping, it will take us 5 hours. So we have our time. So this is sufficient. The second condition says what? It takes 10 of these machines running simultaneously without stopping 6 hours to fill the production order. So it's simply saying that it takes uh, 10 of these machines, 6 hours. Let me do the calculation. So 10 of these machines would be equal to, let me, it is simply like if we are saying machine 1 plus machine 2, plus machine 10 is equal to 1 over 6. And this is identical. So M1 and M2 is the same thing. We can be equal to M. So we simply say 10 factor of 1M. Okay, M here is representing the time each of each machine is equal 1 over, over 6. Say 6 hours to fill, okay? 1 over 6. So we will have 6 times 10 is equal to M, which is equal to 60 hours. Okay, so if we have like it takes 60 hours for 10 machines, and we can do the rule of three. If 10 machines would take 60 hours, how many hours will it take when we run for this is 60 hours for one machine, okay? If one machine is taking 60 hours, what if we have 12 machines? Yeah, so that's it. Like I said, time of each machine is M here, or we could call it T if you want. It could be T. So this would be T. So if T is equal to 60, and we know that they are having the same rate, so that would they would take the same amount of time. So if one machine is taking 60, what about 12 machines? And then it will bring us back to this equation here. And then we'll find 5 hours. So this is also sufficient. Okay, so let's go back to GMAT club. So we said answer D, right? That each condition alone is sufficient. Okay. Take this question. In a random sample of 160 homeowners in a certain neighborhood, how many of the homeowners have lived in their current home for at least 10 years? Okay, so we have number of homeowners 160. And we are looking for how many homeowners have lived in their current home for at least, so at least that will be 10 years or more. Okay. Lived in home greater than 10 years, greater than or equal to 10 years. In the sample, the number of homeowners who have not lived in their current home for at least 10 years is three times the number who have lived in the current home for at least 10 years. Okay, so what we need to say, let's say x is equal to lived at least 10 years, y is lived less than 10 years. And the first condition tells us that the number of people who have not lived in a home for at least 10 years, so y is equal to 3 times is 3 times the number who have lived in a current home for at least. And we know that we are having a sample of 1 and 60. So we have 6 plus x plus y, which is equal to 160. So we can find, we are looking for x, okay? X, y is 3 times. So this will lead us to say that x plus 3x is equal to 160. 4x is 160, x is 40. And this seems like we have, the value. Okay. And we also need to say, so here is sufficient. The second condition. In the sample, the number of homeowners who have not lived in their current home for at least 10 years is 80 more. So those who have not lived, that is y, is 80 more than the number 80 more than the number who have lived in their current home for at least a year plus x. But in the prompt, we have this x plus y, which is equal to 160. Okay, so we can still replace here. This will give us x will be x plus 80 plus x is equal to 160, 2x is equal to 80, x is equal to 40. Okay, so this is also sufficient. Okay, so the answer is answer D. Let's check that. Yeah, so answer D. So what is the value of x? X is negative, so this is sufficient. We need the exact value of x, and this would say x would be equal to minus 4 divided by 2, which is minus. So we have the value of x, which is minus 1 over 2. So definitely answer B is the correct answer. Okay, so answer B. Condition B alone is sufficient. Let me take this. So it says if J, K, L, M, and N are positive integers in ascending order, what is the value of L? So it's so we have like this J, K, L, M, and N. And the first condition, okay, tells us that K here is 3. And we know that they are integers and they are in an ascending order. And we need to find the value of L. But how can we find the value of L if we don't know the logic behind these values? Okay, are they consecutive numbers, or are they like L? Is it, do we have like a sequence where we have like the preceding Now the next number should be maybe the preceding number plus 2 plus 4. We don't have that information. So it's difficult. L can be any kind of number. It can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 6, it can be 8, 9, an infinite number of numbers. The only information it tells us is that they are positive integers in ascending order. Okay, so they are increasing as we go, from K to L to M to N. So this is sufficient. So the second is also sufficient because it only tells us that the value of M is 7. Okay, so it is also insufficient because we don't know, we can't determine what is the exact value of L. Now, if we combine the two here, we will have this is equal to 3, this is equal to 7, and we know that it's ascending. L must be um, an integer that is greater than 3 and less than 7. So we have 4, we have 5, we have 6 as possible integer values here. Okay, so these are the possible values of how do you call it, of L. Okay, so even when we combine, we still cannot determine. So it's sufficient. So answer E should do the job just fine. So the correct answer is answer E. Okay. So let me take this.